You might notice them first at a chaotic Monday morning meeting, or perhaps during a tense family dinner at Thanksgiving. While everyone else is reacting to the stress, the loud voices, the clinking of silverware, the looming deadlines, they are the ones who seem to be breathing at a perfectly steady pace. They are not the loudest in the room, and they certainly are not the most frantic. In fact, they have this almost eerie quality of being a still point in a turning world. If a waiter accidentally drops a tray of glasses right behind them, they might not even flinch. They don't jump, they don't gasp, and they don't spill a drop of their drink. To an outside observer, this looks like incredible strength, or perhaps a Zen-like mastery of the self. You might even envy them, thinking, I wish I could be that cool under pressure. But if you were to step inside their mind for just a single second, you would realize that their calm isn't the presence of peace. It is the absence of surprise. They don't flinch because, in their internal world, the glass has already broken 1,000 times before it ever hit the floor. Think about the person who always knows where the exits are in a movie theater. They don't do it because they are planning a grand escape like an action hero. They do it because their brain has been hardwired to scan for the way out before they even know what they are escaping from. When they walk into a local diner, they don't just look for a clean table. They look for the table that puts their back against the wall. They want to see the entire room. They want to know who is coming through the front door and who is lingering by the kitchen. It is a quiet, exhausting habit that they perform so naturally they don't even realize they are doing it anymore. This is the life of someone who has gone through too much. The term too much is subjective, of course, but for them, it means they have reached a saturation point where the world has lost its benefit of the doubt. They no longer assume that a knock at the door is a friend with a surprise. They assume it is a problem that needs to be solved. They have traded their innocence for a specialized kind of intelligence, a survival intelligence that never goes off duty. Have you ever given a sincere, glowing compliment to someone like this? Maybe you told them they did an amazing job on a project, or you told them how much you value their friendship. Watch their face closely the next time you do. You will see a split-second flicker of something that isn't quite joy. It looks more like confusion, or even suspicion. While you are trying to give them a gift of words, their hidden engine is running a frantic diagnostic test in the background. They are asking themselves, what do they want from me? Why are they saying this now? Is this a setup for a favor they are going to ask later? It is a heartbreaking reality, but for a person who has been burned by the people they trusted most, kindness feels like a Trojan horse. They have learned that free things usually come with a hidden tax, and unconditional love often has very specific conditions that they missed in the fine print. So, they keep you at arm's length, not because they are cold, but because they are trying to protect the small, fragile parts of themselves that are still healing. They would rather be lonely and safe than connected and blindsided. Let's talk about the hidden engine behind this behavior, because this is where the real aha moment happens. In the world of psychology, we often talk about the nervous system as a musical instrument. For most people, their strings are tuned to a standard pitch. They vibrate when there is music, and they stay still when there is silence. But for the person who has endured prolonged stress or trauma, their strings are stretched so tight that they are vibrating at a frequency we can't even hear. This is called hyper-vigilance. Their brain's smoke detector, the amygdala, has been upgraded from a standard home model to a military-grade industrial sensor. It doesn't just look for fire, it looks for the smell of a match before it's even struck. It looks for the slight change in a partner's tone of voice. It looks for the way a boss sighs during a Zoom call. It looks for the silence that lasts just a little too long in a text conversation. Because their brain has associated these tiny shifts with impending disaster, they are constantly living in the future of the threat. They aren't living in the present moment with you. They are living 5 minutes ahead, trying to brace themselves for the impact they are sure is coming. This leads to a strange phenomenon that often confuses the people who love them: the addiction to the struggle. Have you ever noticed that when things finally start going well for them, maybe they get a raise, or their relationship becomes stable and peaceful, they start to get incredibly anxious? It seems nonsensical. Why would someone be stressed about things being good? The answer lies in their biological comfort zone. If you have spent 10 years living in a storm, a sunny day doesn't feel like a relief. It feels like a trap. It feels like the eye of the hurricane. They find themselves pacing the floors of their own mind, waiting for the wind to pick up again. Sometimes, they will even unconsciously start an argument or create a problem just to break the tension of the peace. It sounds self-destructive, and in a way, it is. But it is also a way for them to regain control. If they create the chaos, at least they know when and where it's happening. The uncertainty of peace is far more terrifying to them than the certainty of a fight. They are like sailors who have spent so much time at sea that when they finally step onto dry land, they feel seasick because the ground isn't moving. We see this show up in American culture in the way we celebrate the strong, silent type, or the workaholic who never complains. We often reward people for their ability to suppress their emotions and just get it done. But we don't realize that many of our highest achievers are fueled by a deep-seated fear that if they stop moving, the past will finally catch up to them. They use productivity as a sedative. If they are busy answering emails at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, they don't have to listen to the ringing in their ears that tells them something is wrong. They become the fixers of their families and friend groups. They are the ones you call when your car breaks down at 2 a.m. or when you're going through a messy breakup. Why? Because they are brilliant in a crisis. When the world is falling apart, they finally feel at home. Their specialized survival skills are finally useful. But the tragedy is that they often don't know how to exist when there is nothing to fix. They feel invisible when they aren't being useful. They have equated their value with their ability to carry a heavy load, and they are terrified that if they put the load down, people will realize there's nothing underneath it. If you are watching this and realizing that you might be this person, or that you are living with someone like this, there is something vital you need to understand about the surgical cure for this state of being. It isn't about fixing yourself because you aren't broken. You are adapted. You are a finely tuned survival machine that was built to endure a specific set of harsh conditions. The problem is that the environment has changed, but your internal settings haven't. The way forward isn't to hate your hypervigilance or your anxiety. It's to thank them. You can literally say to yourself, "Thank you, brain, for trying to keep me safe. I know why you're checking the exits. I know why you're worried about that email. You did a great job keeping me alive when things were hard." This is the beginning of what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. It's the realization that you have gained a set of superpowers like deep empathy, sharp intuition, and incredible resilience, but you no longer need to use them in war mode every day. The path to healing for someone who has seen too much is often through the body, not just the mind. Because the trauma is stored in the nervous system, you can't always talk your way out of it. This is why things like deep breathing, weightlifting, or even just feeling the texture of a blanket are so important for these individuals. It's about teaching the body that the here and now is actually safe. It's about expanding what we call the window of tolerance. Right now, your window might be very narrow. A small stressor pushes you into a fight or flight panic or a freeze shutdown. But as you slowly start to experience small moments of safety, moments where you realize that nothing bad happened, when you relax, the window begins to grow. You start to realize that you can handle the calm. You start to realize that you don't have to be the fixer to be loved. You start to realize that your worth isn't tied to how much pain you can absorb for other people. The meaningful truth at the center of all this is that people who have gone through too much are often the most beautiful souls on the planet. They are like kintsugi pottery, the Japanese art of repairing broken ceramics with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they are highlighted. The piece is considered more beautiful because it was broken and then made whole again. If you are one of these people, Your cracks are your depth. Your history of survival has given you a perspective on life that most people will never understand. You know the value of a quiet morning. You know the weight of a true friend. You know the sheer miracle of a day where nothing goes wrong. You are not damaged goods. You are a masterpiece of human endurance. So, here is the final epiphany for today. If you have spent your whole life being the one who carries the weight, the one who scans the room, and the one who waits for the storm, give yourself permission to be tired. You don't have to be the strong one anymore. The war you were fighting ended a long time ago, and it is okay to finally lay your weapons down in the grass. It is okay to walk through the front door and not check the exits. It is okay to accept a compliment without looking for the hook. The world is not always a safe place, that is true. But it is also not always a battlefield. There are places of rest, and you have earned your spot in them. The most radical thing you can do today is not to survive, but to actually enjoy something. Eat a meal without scrolling through your phone. Sit on your porch and just listen to the wind. Let yourself be bored. Because in that boredom, you will find the version of yourself that existed before the world told you that you had to be a warrior just to stay alive. You are finally home. You can breathe now.